Well, good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's still Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. It's a bit later in the afternoon now, and as you can see, I'm out in my travel trailer, and we're getting ready to go on another trip here in a couple weeks. And I got a few things I want to do, and I figured I'd tell you about what I'm working on. There's half a dozen different little projects I need to get finished before we actually go on this next trip. So let me tell you a little bit about what they are. Well, the first one, I guess I'm going to have to stand up and show you this. I got the refrigerators turned off, that's why the doors are open. But the first thing I'm going to do is see the TV right there? It's got a little strap here on it to keep it from flopping around when we're traveling. That was a modification we made. But this trailer's 8 years old, and that TV's the original trailer that came with, or the original TV that came with it when we got it. It's a little hard to film in here right now because the slide's in. I haven't put the slide out. Anyway, so one of the issues with the TV, maybe it'd work better if I turn it. I can kind of see better with the lights turned off. One of the issues with that TV, it's the original TV, and it's not a smart TV. It's a so-called dumb TV. Well, now that I got Starlink, now the spousal unit wants to have all the zillion channels that we can get with the Starlink, and in order to do that, we need a smart TV. So she went ahead and ordered one from Walmart, and so one of the things we're going to be doing will be removing that TV and replacing it with a newer one that's already Roku capable. In fact, I think it's going to be the Roku brand, so that we can have all the stuff that we can get through Roku via the Starlink. And that should be a game changer from the TV. My wife likes the TV. Sometimes I like to get away from it, but she likes it. So that's the first thing. So the second thing we got to do is, let me come out here so I can show you that. And that is, see the steps we got there? Now those of you who know anything about travel trailers know that that's not the original steps that came with it. These are made by a company called Torque-Lift, and we replaced the standard steps that came with the trailer. And one of the reasons why we did that is because they tend to be a little bouncy. And now the neighbor dog just realized I'm out here talking, so he's going to bark at me. They tend to be a little bouncy, and so they're not real stable. And she has a little bit of mobility problems, and it kind of scared her a little bit. So we went ahead and replaced these with the Torque-Lift steps, and we got them on a rally special. They're not very cheap. But one of the things we also did to them is we put these pads on them. See these pads? These pads are made out of recycled pop bottles or something, or water bottles or something. But they make it absolutely non-slip. Well, we've had them on there for quite a while, and they're getting worn through here on the bottom. And so the wife was talking about maybe doing something to change them out or something. And so what she found out, she went to check and see what they cost on Amazon, and they were on sale. So my second project is to go ahead and replace them. I got a whole new set right there. So that won't take very long. It is a game changer because these stairs don't move around a bit. And at the same time, I added the longer, heavier duty stair rail on it as well, and that helps her get in and out. And because, like I say, she's a little unsteady on her feet. So let me show you the third thing. In order to do that, I think I showed you my neighbor's bug over there. That's the cutest darn thing in the world. I went over and helped him work on some. He had a wiring issue on it the other day, and I went over and helped him figure that out. And now let me get. You're going to go up high now for this part. There's a couple things up here. Number one is that's my awning. And as you can see, this top part of this awning right here, even when the awning's in, it sits in this trailer has never sat under cover a day in its life. And so basically our relentless Arizona sun, which you're kind of looking into right now, and I apologize for that, but it kind of started pinholing the top of this, and so I put a couple layers of Gorilla Tape on it just to give it some protection, try to make it last a little bit longer. And so we're trying to, I'm going to have to change it out one of these days, but I'm going to try to make it live as long as it can. And part of that tape came off, and I already went up there yesterday and put the rest of that tape on. I probably should have filmed this in the morning when the sun was at a better angle. But in the process of doing that, I'm going to show you something else. This is really dumb. See this stuff here? Well, when we first got the trailer, it was getting a little bit of water leakage between where the awning fastens on the railing right here. And because you see it slopes down like that, and any rainwater comes in puddles right there. Well, the RV dealer that we bought the trailer from, we took it back and said, hey, it shouldn't be leaking. It was running down the side of the trailer. Well, what they did is they sealed the whole darn thing with silicone. Well, that's an absolute no-no. You can't do that. The reason why is because this thing expands and contracts, and it needs to slide a little bit. It needs to be able to slide back and forth on this track a little bit. Well, once you seal it with silicone, it can't go anywhere. So that's going to be a real booger when it comes time to change that awning out. But what it does, it makes the awning ripple. It doesn't. It's never worked right. And so when we do change that out, it's going to be a big job of trying to get all this dang silicone off of there. And that wasn't my fault. That was the darn RV dealer who did that, and I'll never go back to that RV dealer again. But while I was up here messing around, you have to look and see this little stuff right here. All right, well this like most RVs, this one here has a fabric roof. And that fabric roof goes down behind this piece here that seals it. And then this little rubber thing right here just covers up all the screws. That's just a little trim piece that covers up all the screws. Well, if you look right in the top here, you can see the sealer has gone bad. It's actually worse on the other side. You can see how it peels right loose right there. Look at that. Now this stuff like this right there, that's a potential water leak. And so I need to go do a reseal job along this entire side. The other side's actually worse than this side is. But you can see here where the sealer's started to go bad. And it's just a routine thing. This is kind of like a fabric, and it's stretched over there and it's put in the side with screws every so often. So first thing you do for that, of course, you peel all this off, and then you can get to those screws and check and make sure they haven't backed back out or whatever. And then, of course, there's screws on this little spout thing here too. Well, the process, part of that too, is you look up here, and some of this sealer along the top here has seen better days. And so I basically need to go and check the whole roof assembly up there and check everything for potential leaks. I have to reseal that whole thing. So that's going to be quite the job, and that's going to take a little while. But that's kind of probably the most important thing, because you don't want to see any water leaks. So let's come back down, and I'll show you one other thing. Now, if you watch my video where I did the wheel bearing repack, and that was a big, long drawn-out affair too. But one of the things that I noticed while I was doing that is if you get down here and take a look, is I've got custom suspension on that, and that's that MotorRide CRE 3000. You can see that right in front of us there. Well, that thing's not supposed to sit at an angle like that. That's supposed to be level. In other words, this back side of it back here, right there, is supposed to be level across there. Well, there's a reason why it's doing that, and I haven't figured out what it is. And so before we leave, I want to get back underneath there, and I want to mess with that a little bit more and see if I can figure out why that's sitting at that angle like that, because that's not supposed to be that way. So that's the other thing. So those are all the projects I've got I need to do to work on the trailer. And as you can see, I've already put the tape on the awning. The changing the step pads out won't be any big deal. But the other two things are going to take a little bit of work. And in order to check that suspension, I'm going to have to anchor it to the back of my old truck again and jack it up again. But like I say, there's a reason why it's doing that, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. So this is going to be the opening segment, and I'm going to bring in some more segments as I fix this stuff. I don't know why my hand's shaking, making the camera shake. But anyway, so I'll be back with you again when I got a little something more to show you. But you can tell where I'm going to be for the next few days. The weather's supposed to be perfect. It's in low 70s, perfect weather to be working outside. So there's my tire cover. I took it off so I could show you that. So for right this minute, I'm going to put that tire cover back on there until I'm ready to work on it some more. But I'll be back when I got something concrete to show you. Well, as you can see, changing these step pads is simplicity itself. They're just held on by a couple of springs. Let me see if I can take this one, if I can show you. See, all it does is take it off. It's just unpop those springs right there. Which naturally is going to argue with me because I got you on camera. There it is. I'm going to change hands here. Pop that one. Flip the springs right off. That's all there is to it. So it's going to take me 2 hands to put them back on, but I can show you how simple it is. And it's only going to take me a very few minutes to do that. Now there they are, all changed out, and you can sure see the difference between these new ones and the old ones laying there. How they catch a lot of dirt, and of course they're kind of hard to clean too. But I wasn't really going to change those, but when the wife went to check and see how much they were on sale, and they were only $17 a piece, and that's quite a bit cheaper than what they normally run. So we went ahead and did them, change them out. So that was the easiest part of the project. There's all the box with all the junk in it. I just got to clean that up. And let me pick this up and show you how they fasten on here. Like I say, this job is kind of simplicity itself. It's just on those, just with those springs. Now that'll lay up in there a little after it sits for a while. That'll lay up in there a little bit better. These steps, by the way, come with little extension foot pieces on there, so if you're on uneven ground, you can level it out. But where it's sitting right here, I can't even use them. So there's the first part. That's one little project done. We'll come back again when we got something more to show you. Well, it was actually the next afternoon, and as you can see, I'm using my old truck as a scaffold, which works pretty good on the driver's side of the trailer because I can get right in there, but on the other side I got to do it off the ladder. It's a little more cumbersome. But figured I'd show you a couple things. I'm getting ready to start working on this molding up here, and I'll show you one of the things that caused me some concern. So right here, I told you yesterday on the other side there, in that last segment, about how this fabric roof is curled over here, and then it has this molding on it here, and behind this, it's called a screw cover, and it's rubber. There's screws that hold this in. And like right here, you can see where it's pulled away a little bit, but let me show you something else here. We get a little bit further toward the back. I'll step over the ladder here. Look how this is all pulled apart. Look at that. See how that moves? Well, the water would be going right down behind there. So I got to pull this screw cover here off, right here. Pull all that off. And I'll bet some of those screws are going to be rusty. So we'll check into that. And here's another one. You can see where this stuff has gone bad right here. And then right in here. This is all opportunity for water intrusion. Every little bit of it. So all that's got to be resealed. And so that's what my job is today. I hope I showed it well enough. This little thing here too. But this little like a rain gutter here. But right there you can see where it's pulled away, and there's actually a gap in there where water can run down behind there. So my job is kind of clear that out, and when I get it apart enough that I can show you, I'll show you some. Okay, I removed that screw cover, and that's all what it looks like here. They got it tucked around behind there, and it's probably not a good thing to do that because that holds that out from the wall. But basically, this is what I found. I had to remove this last screw in order to get this off, but this screw's loose, that screw's loose, this one's loose, and then after that they seem to be tight. So you can see here where this is pulled away and where it moves. Hopefully I held the camera right to show you that. So I had to take that screw out. That one is a little bit loose, this one's loose, that one appears tight, that one's loose, and then back this way they appear tight. Well, now I'm up here a little higher, I can not only show you this, you can see that's a water intrusion issue there, but also this is cracked all the way up past here. And then way over here, you can see a spot where it needs to be resealed over there as well. So I've got some of the self-leveling sealer to do it. There's another spot right there that could possibly leak. But this thing right in here, this is the problem area that I'm concerned about. And so I'll fiddle with it a little bit more, and I get some of this old sealer, get rid of some of this old sealer, and I'll come back and show you when I make a little progress. Okay, at this point, you can see where I can pull that away, and you can see how that fabric, that roof goes down beyond there. And then you can look at some of these screws that I took out up here, and see some of them are rusty. That means there's been water getting in there. And if I back down the way, now I've cleaned some of this off here. As I back down this way a little bit and back some of these screws out, you can see the rust on that screw, you can see the rust on that screw. So that indicates that there's water intrusion. So we're going to put something on each one of those and put them all back in. But it looks like I'm going to have to pull this screw cover off this whole side over here, and we'll have to just take our time scraping this off. We're using a plastic scraper as much as possible. There's a number of different things you can use up to and including a razor blade, but the problem with using a razor blade is you don't want to cut that fabric under any circumstances. That's bad news if you were to slip and cut that. So if you're going to use the razor blade, you got to be pretty darn careful. So I've got 2 or 3 different kinds of scrapers here, and you can see where I'm going to be for a while. But I got to go the whole end of this thing. The truck makes a pretty good scaffolding for about 8 foot at a time, but I can't back it up quite far enough to get to that corner. But I'll get that corner sealed up, and we'll get this back together. Fortunately, it's not supposed to rain here for at least the next week, so I don't have to be in any huge hurry to do this. But this, as you can see, this is going to be quite the project. Back to you again. There you can see how rusty those screws are, and if you see this one's actually broke off. That means they put it in there with a electric screwdriver or something or other, and it's been broke off. But look how rusty those are. That shows that every one of those was loose, and every one of those is showing evidence of water intrusion. So we're pulling that back in there. It doesn't look real bad, but it's a good thing I caught it when I did. Well, good morning, YouTube. This is day 3 of this little adventure and project, and I thought I'd bring you up to date on what I did the rest of the afternoon after that last segment. Well, what I did is I went ahead and I pulled every screw out of the top of that thing all the way across, clear up here to the front. And I removed scraped off all the old sealer. So let me go up here on the ladder and let me show you a couple things that I found out. Well, the way this little aluminum extrusion molding right here, that's what holds this fabric roof in place. And you might wonder why they choose to use a fabric roof, and there's a couple of reasons. Number one is they're remarkably durable and it's relatively inexpensive, but probably the main reason is because it allows it to flex. And of course, going down the road, these things bounce around and flex a lot, and that's the reason why these screws back out. But you can see that these screws are about every 4 inches along there, all the way down. Well, what I found out when I removed them is that about 2/3 of them showed rust. And that meant that water was getting right in here. That backed out a little bit over time and allowed water to seep in there. So I spent the rest of the afternoon, I can say I pulled them out one at a time, and I sealed them. You can see the sealer on this one right here if you look close. And I sealed them and I put them all back in. Well, as I was taking this screw cover stuff, it's just a little, this kind of flimsy looking stuff here that just kind of fits in kind of like that, right there. And of course it's been in the sun for 8 years, and so when I started taking it apart, it fell apart. And so the other thing I found out, like I say, these screws, and I'll show you one. I got one here in my pocket I can show you. I had a few of them. All I got to do is get a hold of it now. Anyway, these screws, this is what they look like. They're 1 inch long, number 8 screws. Now, they're not a real high dollar screw, and they're not made out of very good material, so they do rust when they get water into them. And some of these were rusted pretty bad. I found 2 of them that were actually broke, a couple more that were stripped. And so what I decided to do is I decided to go ahead and I had to order the new screw cover anyway. And the sealer that goes across top of that, you can see I scraped all that sealer off. Boy, that took like forever. You've got to be real careful not to cut this fabric too. I mentioned that before. But I got that all cleaned off. Took me all afternoon. And that's just this side. I still got the other side to do. But what I decided to do is since I had to order, I didn't have any of the sealer. I had some, but it was all dried up and didn't work right, so I had to order some new. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead across the top of this eventually. But I think I'm also going to treat each one of these screws before I put the screw cover back on. So these are probably okay the way they are. But what I'm going to do too, while I was ordering stuff, since I had to order the sealer and I had to order the new screw cover, I had to order a 100-foot roll of that stuff because, you know, it's a 30-foot trailer. And obviously a 50-foot roll or 60-foot roll wouldn't be enough. So I ordered a 100-foot roll. So I'll replace all this. But I also decided to order a big box of these screws and replace all these as well. So I'm going to go back in there, each one of them, take them back out again, replace them with a new screw, and reseal them. And just take my time and do it. There's no big rush on it. I'm not flat rate on the clock like an RV tech would be. But I've got this screwed back in here pretty tight now. And you can see why that all needs to be done, because every one of those places was a water intrusion. I even found a little place along here somewhere, and I'm not sure where it's at right here. I'll show it to you, but I found a place where when they assembled the trailer, they poked a little hole in this fabric right there, and I can seal that. So the key there, of course, is to get the water to shed right off of that thing. Because if it can get in anywhere, it's going to damage something. And if it sheets off and falls down off the side somewhere, it's not hurting anything. So, as we always say, these things shake themselves apart. Every time you drive over a cattle guard, it's like going over a major earthquake. So that's where I'm at right now. And the stuff I ordered is going to be here in a day or so. So that'll give me a chance to work on that other side. But I think I dodged a bullet on some of the damage here. This is actually in pretty good shape now. And so I'll work on the other side today, but that'll be this little segment for right now. I think I'm going to make this into a 2-parter, so I think I'm going to end this part of it right here. I'm not sure how long it's going to be when I string it all together, but you can see what I'm doing and where I'm going with this. And so I'll bring you the next segment as a part 2. So right now, take care of each other and love each other. And it's going up and down off this ladder and climbing up and down off the truck's kind of tough on an old guy. But we'll keep puddling with it and we'll get her done. And so I'll talk to you again here pretty quick. So let me just tell you, peace out. Show you one more look at that project.